All right, Rob, let's get to this. Because you have a strong take. You feel like yesterday you talked about you felt like there was a lot of disrespect out there for Nikola Jokic. And now you're extending it to where you feel like there's a lot of disrespect of international players in general. Rob G, there have been a few statements made by American players and ex-players recently. Can you kind of run down a few things just to give the audience some context?
Absolutely. So I think it all started, at least to my knowledge, publicly, a couple of years ago when James Harden was in the thick of the MVP race with the Houston Rockets, and he was going head-to-head with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you recall that James Harden was not feeling the idea of the Greek Freak being named the MVP over him. Here's that viral comment from James Harden back in the day.
When it's all said and done, they'll appreciate it more, but I wish I could just run and with 7 feet and run and just dunk. Like, that takes no skill at all. I got to actually learn how to play basketball and how to have skill, I take that any day.
I don't know if that was based on Giannis being, international player. You know what I mean? I think it was based on his style of play in Harden.
That's fair. Okay, well,
you know what I mean?
But let me hear you defend this next one, though, Chris, because it only gets worse from there.
I know they've been dissing, so I'm just saying that particular.
Sure.
Quote, but
so
I'm with you.
That one.
Do you think that one was international?
Yeah, it does, and only from this standpoint. And we'll go forward. I don't want to get too bogged down, but I think it's easier for these ex-players to rip on people who are not from here, like to just rip on them where they don't do that to players from the United States. That's all I'm saying.
Like, would he
Chris.
have said that? Would he say something like that about Shaq?
Nope. Shaq. What did
Probably
Shaq
not.
do? He wouldn't do that. He
Shaq
was the most dominating
player.
player.
As much as Giannis, as far as versatility.
There you go, Chris.
He wasn't passing.
And
like
nobody
Giannis,
would
bringing
say
the
that
ball
about
up.
Shaq.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Go ahead.
All right, so we flash forward up to last year. You had Kendrick Perkins famously say that Jokic, not only was he stat padding, but he was only getting MVP love because he was white. We're going to choose not to play that one because that was a little bit too off color.
No, was that international or just
that was directed?
He wouldn't have said that about a white boy from America? I mean, right. I don't know.
There aren't any white guys from America, all right, in the MVP race. That's the problem.
But Gilbert Arenas has taken the torch from Kendrick Perkins, and he's been really going heavy on Nikola Jokic, including a couple of weeks ago where he suggested that Joker would be the worst MVP the NBA has ever seen. Take a listen.
This series. Now, I do understand when they say this about Jokic. Jokic is probably statistically, when it comes to overall game, the worst MVP winner. He's the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years.
Why you say that?
When you're talking about MVP, the guys outside of first and second place, their teams was first and second place. The people who won the MVP, their teams was first and second.
Okay, I will, and I'm not trying to, again, defend Gilbert Arenas, but if he's saying worse in terms of your seeding, because before, it's true that Jokic's first two MVPs, they didn't win 50 games. And it's rare for a player to win the MVP without 50 wins. One of them was the the pandemic shortened season, so that kind of is thrown out. But the other one was not 50 wins. And one of his first two MVPs was as a 6 seed.
He's talking about
which
this
also
past
is
MVP
rare.
where they were.
This was before Jokic won it.
No, but he's talking about this one, Chris.
But Rob, my point, Arenas' comment was made before Jokic was named MVP.
No, but he was saying it was in the.
If he's going to be this year,
yeah.
But I'm just telling you. I'm just saying he in that quote that we just heard, he referenced the seeding of the past. And he referenced the 50 wins. Did he or not?
They won 57 games
this year.
No, but
the first two he did. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to defend him because Jokic is nasty. He is a phenomenal player. All I'm trying to say is, was Gilbert? I don't know if he was saying he's the worst MVP as far as he's just not as good of a player as the rest of them, or if he was one of the few to win it as a 6 seed. The only other 6 seed I know since 1980, and writers have been voting to win the MVP 1981, was Russell Westbrook when he did it with a triple-double. That's the only other 6 seed that I can recall winning the MVP. So I'm just saying it's possible he meant that. But go ahead.
That is possible. He also said earlier this week that if we take away the assists, then Jokic's numbers are not that great. Okay. But last one, and this is probably the most prevalent because it's been going on all week if you've been watching Inside the NBA. Draymond Green has been filling in, doing an admirable job, but he can't seem to stop taking shots at Rudy Gobert. Here's one of the things he said.
This series ain't coming back to Minnesota. Number one, the big Frenchman is sitting on that podium speaking his native language. We need to do this. You need to get a stop. It ain't we. Karl Anthony Towns is actually doing a pretty good job when he's on Joker. It's you, my man, that's getting cooked. So it's no we. Now, yes, you do need help from the other guys, but on some of those, help can't help you. Like, you just got to get a stop.
It's been worse. It's just every circumstance he has a chance to get a dig in. That's where, Chris, where you're too close to it. Like, you can't be honest because Rudy Gobert wins Defensive Player of the Years that you also have won and you want to win. So I think every dig, and it doesn't mean he can't criticize him, but I do think he's taking it too far. Anyway, I don't want to be too long-winded, Chris. I do believe that players in the NBA, former players in the NBA, feel that they can.
Some of these are current. I mean, obviously, Draymond.
But they feel like they can rip on the European players because they're not going to push back. They're not going to be confrontational. They would not do this to other black players in the league. That's just my gut feeling that they would have never.
Black American.
Yeah, black American players that they would. Giannis, what's Giannis going to do? That's just not his makeup, Chris. The Joker. Shaq says to his face, "You're not gonna. You didn't deserve the MVP." Right. He wouldn't do that if it was some other. I just don't believe it in my heart, and I don't have any proof. But I don't believe that they would call these guys out, and I do believe and they better get ready because Wemby, Chris, as you know, is the next hotness, and he ain't from the United States. But I do think that there's a wave of anti-foreign players that is going on because they're winning the awards and they're playing at a high level, and I think it's disgraceful. I think they should understand how hard it is to play this game, and don't try to beat down people who are excelling at it. They're doing great stuff. That's all.
I don't disagree with what you've said, and I think there is some jealousy because these dudes are. Let's just face it, guys. Right now, the best players in the world are not from America.
Plain and simple.
Now, overall, if you want to go 50 deep, you want to go 25 deep, you want to go 50 deep, you want to go 100 deep, sure. We got the best, the majority of the better players. But the absolute elite level, the top 5, we got Kerry Kittles on the show
what's that, hour
today?
2?
Yeah. And Kerry and I were texting earlier in the day, and he sent me, if I can find it, he sent me his top 6 players. And I'm his top 6 players right now in the NBA. Here it is. Joker, Luka, Ant-Man, Embiid, Shea, Giannis.
There's only one
5
American
of those
there, right?
6 are international, right? And then the next group, he said, rounding out his top 10, Rob, LeBron, Durant, Curry, and Jason Tatum. LeBron, Durant, and Curry are going to be retiring in a few years.
Right.
So and you said Wemby is going to be.
Wemby ain't even on his list, Chris.
Right. I mean, Wemby next year might be top 5. I think he'll definitely be top 10. And so I agree with you, Rob. I do think, look, they better not mess up and think these international dudes aren't as tough because, they just are soft-spoken and they're in a different country.
You know that, Chris.
And they might not want to come out here and just act the fool because they ain't in their home country, right?
100%.
But don't think that some of these dudes can't knock you out just like an American could knock you out. Secondly, and I think the more important point, Rob, is it's probably some jealousy because they are taking over, and we have felt like this is our game, Black Americans.
Right.
This is our game, and now you see the best player in the world is a slow white dude that can't jump. And he's the best player in the world by a nice margin. And then you got Luka, who's kind of a slow white dude who can't jump. And he might be the second best player in the world. So I think there's some jealousy there, Rob. I think there is. So
all right, we want to hear
I don't disagree. All right, you know what we need to do? Play better. Let's play better at the younger ages and really learn the skills, as Harden was referring to. Skills, because that's what Jokic and Luka have.